India becoming no country for minorities? That's the question we're asking as day after day disturbing incidents are making headlines, though not often finding the same space on Indian TV news. There have been a series of attacks against Muslims over the last couple of years, many linked to Gaur Rakshaks, from the lynching of Pehlu Khan in Rajasthan to the murder of Junaid and the most recent brutal murder of a Muslim man who was first hacked and then burnt alive by a man who then went on a communal rant on video. Last week, a group of priests were detained for singing Christmas carols in Madhya Pradesh. Yesterday, we showed you how the Hindu Jagran Manch has been threatening schools in Aligarh not to celebrate Christmas. So now the police has sent them a notice. And the latest today, a Muslim man in UP who says that he was denied the possession of his house in a predominantly Hindu colony, again after protests by right-wing groups. The police actually told him to not take the possession of his home. Is India becoming a more insecure place for our minorities, or is that an exaggeration? Joining us on the program tonight, Abhishek Singhvi of the Congress Party, Rajiv Pandey of the BJP, Professor Rakesh Sinha of the RSS. We have Shiv Vishwanathan and Sabha Naqvi also joining us this evening. Let me take that question first to you, Shiv Vishwanathan. Do you see a disturbing trend here that is emerging, where you have more of these incidents happening? You even have statistics that show that since 2014, India Spent has put those statistics together, that you actually have more violence related to cow vigilantes, cow-related hate crime. It started in 2010, but you see even more cases, and 2017 ended up being the deadliest year as far as cow-related hate crime was concerned. What does that tell you about the kind of country we're becoming?
I think it's embarrassing to talk about it. Let me put it at three levels. One, there is a sociological trend of an increase in violence. But what is even more frightening is the silence and indifference of the government to it. Deep down, minorities are trying to emphasize their situation. But I think what is really sad is the BJP regime almost seems to have a kind of indifference to it.
The silence and the indifference. Let me take that right away, to Sabha first. Do you agree with that? That is that, and that's the reason actually we're talking about this today. You know, that you have all these various things that have been happening. Many of them are horrendous murders. Then you have this thing about Christmas that's come up. The priests who were detained last week. Yeah. What's happening in the Aligarh schools. Now, is there a need for the government, for those in responsible positions, to make a statement that this isn't on, or it's not going to happen?
I just want to state, bring up something about the Christians. According to Christian organizations which monitor violence against them, against the Christian community, this year, because I've just finished writing a piece on this, this has been the worst year in recent years in India. So in an organization whose findings are carried across the world by all the Western media, India's rank has slipped from 30 to the 15th worst country, with North Korea being on top for Christians. 2017 has, in the first half, has had more violence, bullying against Christians, bullying, intimidation. It need not mean death always, than 2006, the entire 2016 had. This December, we've had 3 incidents. I don't think you have the time to hear me get into each one of them. In the Christmas season, we've had 3 incidents over here. At the ground level, the cadre of the Hindu right actually has a greater conflict with Christians because they believe they are converting. Even conversion, which is, as we all know, Dr. Ambedkar converted. We have the most draconian laws which go against free will on conversion. If I want to convert, I have to take, in Madhya Pradesh, I have to take the permission of the state government, which will not give it to me, which will then tell the local RSS cadre to appeal to me to not convert, and maybe if I don't do it, my home will be burned down.
But do you see a certain emboldening of these elements?
Of course, look, I mean, it's not as if the BJP should be blamed for everything. They live with Christians and all very happily in Goa. So there is a certain chemistry within the the BJP, the respectable face of the BJP, between the cadre, which has a sort of masculine Hindutva. They are trying to craft a new identity, and they have 2 fault lines. The larger fault line is this Muslim history fault line, where you get after every Muslim emperor. Mark my words now and don't take it lightly, Tipu Sultan will be in the news now that we are done with Khilji and Aurangzeb, because they're going to Karnataka.
Now it's Karnataka's turn. But you know, before I ask Professor Sinha and the BJP about this, I wanted to ask Abhishek Singhvi about the Congress's silence on these recent attacks that have taken place, for instance, of this man who was burnt alive, who was actually chopped into pieces and burnt alive in Rajasthan, which was a horrific case. And it happened bang in the middle of the Gujarat campaign. And honestly, Dr. Singhvi, it was very disappointing that Rahul Gandhi or the top Congress leadership didn't find it fit, because of the political climate in Gujarat, to condemn this strongly enough. I mean, such a horrific killing should invite the strongest condemnation of any decent half-human being. But, is the Congress no longer willing to speak out against these issues because you're trying to a different political cause to take on the BJP?
Nidhi, let me answer the several questions you asked, but let me start by saying that the number, diversity, nature of incidents has increased considerably. But what is more alarming is the brazenness, the crudeness, the open defiance and the confidence with which they are happening. You may people may make it anecdotal, people may deny it, but the real fact is in 3 years, we have seen clearly a wink and a nod. We have seen clearly, my friend used the words of studied moderation, Mr. Vishwanathan, but actually there is clear Nelsonian blind eye or complicity in these incidents. And that is the serious part, because the state is encouraging them through various proxy agencies. Now, I'll answer the question about Afrazul in a second, but I want to ask one question. Why is this perception that Gujarat has become so divided, so tremendously polarized, especially against Muslims? Now, why is that perception across India? Is it not the work of at least 30 years of indoctrination, policies, a wink, a nod, an innuendo, an insinuation? Keep within your limits. It wasn't like that before. So the very question you ask hides within it a very harsh truth, that the rulers of the last 25-30 years have created a climate in Gujarat where generally those who hate communalism also must keep their peace and keep quiet. Let me factually, however, deny what you said. From the national podium in the AICC, we have specifically taken a briefing on this subject. Afrazul is far too horrific to even recount. That it can happen in 2017 India before the glare of media lights really makes us completely
I didn't see
hang our head in
Rahul Gandhi
shame.
utter the word Muslim
your question, your
in the
title,
Gujarat campaign,
your
because
title,
it suited you not to.
Nidhi, your
Why
title,
didn't he say it in his speeches?
For minorities.
When a man is burnt alive, you would expect the leader of the opposition to be more forceful in his condemnation. I mean, it seems that the Congress has abdicated that responsibility.
No, we are far from abdicating. In fact, if there is one national party which has consistently carried on this campaign, it is the Congress. We have taken it every time. But let
Sabha has a quick question.
No country for old men or no country for black people.
Mr. Singhvi, in fact, if I may add this, Nidhi, since I spent considerable time in Gujarat, actually you had the very tragic situation of Muslim people going to the Congress and saying, please don't mention us, please don't pose with us, please don't do it. So it's reached that point where they don't want to be seen. That is what it is in Gujarat. And so the incident that you mentioned in Meerut, it's the same thing. It's the same kind of segregation that's happening.
What kind of a country do we become? I mean, I've listed out all these incidents. About dekhiye Meerut mein, this man is saying, police told me don't take possession of your house. It's a Hindu colony. People are opposing it. Why should this happen?
You know, without going to the depth, we should not come to the conclusion. I know that in our society there are prejudices, there are biasness against each other. And our objective is to remove these biasness and prejudices. This is the ideal position and for which I think Indian society is working. And as far as India is concerned, I think there is a peace and harmony. There are incidents, there are horrific incidents that are the blot on our society, but that doesn't mean that there is no consensus. You know, every political party, every political leader, even if someone accuses Congress, you ask the question about Rahul Gandhi, someone is asking about Narendra Modi has not tweeted, but I think that everyone is condemning, nobody is supporting, patronizing the incident. Second, and those who are accusing that there is a silence, I feel inbuilt dichotomy in that. If you want to oppose the system, you can oppose Narendra Modi as a Prime Minister, not once, twice. He warned the cow vigilantists. Mohan Bhagwat ji as a RSS chief categorically condemned, and there were incidents, but they have been curbed. In Haryana, there has been arrest. In Rajasthan, the arrest has been within 12 hours. Police arrested the culprits.
Do you think the Hindu Jagran Manch is right to threaten schools in Aligarh over Christmas?
I think
should they not have been arrested rather than just be given a warning?
I don't know without knowing the context. 3 years ago,
is there a context
2 years ago, I discussed an incident that there was an incident by Poonawalla that he raised the question that some Muslim was not getting the rented house. Later on, it was found that this was wrong. So sometimes we are over-emphasizing and doing bigger harm by creating a binary. You know, by and large Indian society is living in peace. As far as Sawal's question is that Muslims are saying that kindly don't pose with us. You know, that is a strategic position of Muslims, that there should not be counter-polarization, so silently monolithic minority and balkanized Hindus. This is the philosophy they are
arguing. But Shiv Vishwanathan is disagreeing with that. Shiv Vishwanathan is Professor Sinha painting a very rosy, idealistic, unrealistic picture of the India we live in. I mean, frankly, there are very deep fault lines, and sometimes they come to the fore, other times they're very much there. They're just there. They're dormant.
Professor Sinha seems to belong to the Department of Sanitation. He's busy cleaning up the BJP. I don't think that's possible. Mere protest is not enough. There has to be a response. And in terms of response and responsiveness, I think the BJP has been a disastrous case.